What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We have a major update today, which is a lot of you guys know it's going to be the Fed meeting that's coming up in just about 3 hours here, Pacific Standard Time. This is a very anticipated event for a lot of the markets, including crypto, and from personal experience and observations. So, we're going to be taking a look into how the market might react, have been reacting for the past couple of days, what I could be expecting from this market after the meeting. We're also going to be taking a look into some altcoin setups, which would include Stellar Lumens. Going to be following up on that. JASMY, GALA. See what's going on in these markets. Going to be looking for setups before they actually move, because that's what I do here on this channel. Is that we actually dive deep into the charts every day, so we can actually find the moves before they happen. Because let's face it, that's a lot less riskier than chasing a pumping green candle and just trying to chase the move when it's happening. That's a lot riskier, okay? If you guys ever chase pumping green candles, let me know how it worked out. I think the only thing riskier is shorting a big fat red candle. Alright, so we're going to be taking a look into that. And of course, if you guys have any technical analysis requests, you want me to do an analysis on any of the altcoins, anything really, put it down in the comment section below. I will give you guys my technical analysis request on the charts, what I think about that market. Of course, like and subscribe, because I'll be talking about this on a daily basis. All right, let's go ahead and take a look into Bitcoin here. Bitcoin up slightly before the meeting, okay? From personal experience, right, the past couple of years of trading, I don't usually see too much happening before the Fed meeting. However, during the Fed meeting, things could happen there are some things that could happen during the meeting, okay? I've seen some pretty crazy spikes, drops, reversals, right? Just up and down movements, just the whip price action. So because of that, I have not entered into any, I try not to enter into any leverage positions before the Fed meeting, okay? I usually like to wait until things kind of calm down after the Fed meeting in order to take any leverage positions, okay? So I try not to enter into any new leverage positions. And whatever I have, I try to just put up enough margin so I don't have to worry about it and get liquidated. Now, that is just me, of course. None of what I'm saying is financial advice in here, right? You guys do whatever you guys want to do. Now, what could be happening with Bitcoin? Let's just take a quick recap here. Hourly time frame, I talked about this pattern. Falling wedge pattern usually breaks to the upside. Talked about this yesterday. Shortly after I talked about it, price target was about 97,000. Price action went up to almost 98,000 here on this hourly time frame. So went above the price target and more. So what could be happening now is that it is consolidating, but within, let's see what type of pattern are we actually looking at. This could be a symmetrical triangle pattern that is still forming, a very small symmetrical triangle pattern, which usually breaks to the upside. Now it has not been formed because right now it is not looking very symmetrical still. It could possibly come down to the hourly 21 as support. Now this is just an estimate, of course. It is not completely formed, but just, something to be at least estimating, okay? It's still important to estimate, okay? Because to actually kind of expect where the support could be. Okay, this is on the hourly time frame, and if it actually forms a symmetrical triangle pattern, then that would look pretty bullish on the smaller time frame. That is just textbook technical analysis. But let's take a look into some higher time frames here. The 12-hour time frame, there is bearish divergence, which is basically when you see a higher or equal high on the price action chart, but a lower or equal high on the RSI. And we're basically seeing that right now. We had a slightly higher high on this 12-hour time frame, and then with the lower high on the RSI. So something to be keeping in mind of, that is weakness right now. Okay, it usually means there's going to be a pullback. So what does it mean when you have a higher when you have a bullish pattern on a smaller time frame, but a reversal indicator on a higher time frame? I would be pretty cautious of that, because the higher time frame usually wins. Okay. So that is something I'm keeping in mind of. Even though on the hourly time frame looks kind of bullish, but on the 12-hour time frame, which is a higher time frame, there is a weakness. Something to be keeping in mind of. Daily time frame. Okay, daily time frame, we're still looking very good, and this is why I've talked about this a couple days ago. We still had a higher low, right, on this daily time frame. And when you have a higher low you can expect a higher high, okay, if you keep that higher low. And we've kept it, right? Let's see if the price action can actually break through this 98,000 resistance. Now, if it doesn't, and this higher low gets invalidated, daily time frame, daily 21 SMA, that's the next level of support I'm looking at, currently at about just right underneath 93,000, the blue line here. However, we are still very much above the daily 200 SMA, so, in that regard, we still look very good, on a higher time frame, because we're above the daily 200. Let's take a look into 3-day time frame. On the 3-day time frame, I've been talking about this resistance for quite some time, which is the 3-day 50 SMA. I still, in my opinion, I don't think we have a solid close above the 3-day 50 SMA. We've been kind of just creeping above it, but it is not a solid candle close. So still something to be keeping in mind of. And the 3-day 50 SMA is at about 93,000. So quite a bit of levels to be watching out for at 93,000. First of all, we have the daily 21 SMA coming up as support, but we have not really had a solid candle close above the 3-day 50, and then the weekly 21 as a solid candle. We haven't reclaimed that resistance as supports. Okay, now let's take a look into total 3, which is total altcoin market cap, excluding Ethereum. Falling wedge pattern, broke out of it. Price target still just right underneath 1.1 trillion. Total 3 has already came down to the daily 21 SMA. Okay, so this is something to be watching out for if you're trading altcoins, right? But we still have broken out of this downtrend, which is very good. And if it continued towards that target, then it could do some pretty significant pumps for some of these smaller altcoins. Okay, now price targets are estimates only. It could be above or below it. Okay, but it's still a very good idea to get an estimate of where the price action can be going. Now go ahead and let's take a look into stock markets. Stock market still looks good because we have actually gone above the daily 50 SMA, and we're basically just retesting that daily 50 SMA right now, right? it hasn't retraced that entire pump yet, so that is still looking good. That pump started about 5,600. This is very important because S&P 500 is a front-running signal usually for Bitcoin. All right, let's take a look into some altcoins. I know you guys are more excited for that. XLM USD did a analysis on this for one of my subscribers not too long ago. Let's take a look into XLM USD and see if there are any updates. Last time I talked about this falling wedge pattern, and you see this pattern very commonly across a lot of these altcoins. Of course, it's going to look very similar to the total 3 chart. Right? Price target, it hasn't broken out yet, right? Falling wedge pattern, weekly time frame, price target is still about, since we haven't broke out yet. We move this measurement down along this top trend line. Measure target is going to be about 57 cents now. Okay? Let's take a look into daily time frame, see what we could be doing here on the daily time frame. This looks like another falling wedge. I think we can probably get a better view on a smaller time frame here. All right. So this is how you look at a chart, how you draw trend lines, and how you come up with a price target. Price target out of this, take the measurement of the opening of the pattern, put it on top of a estimated breakout points. Let's just say right there for now. That's going to give you about a 29 cents measure move, and it's going to take you outside of this bigger falling wedge pattern. All right, that's basically what I'm seeing for stellar lumens. Let's take a look into JASMY. Of course, let me just say that none of these altcoin setups will matter if Bitcoin starts dumping. Okay, so that's why always be keeping in mind of what the Bitcoin chart could be doing while looking at altcoin setups. JASMY. All right, this is a coin that I currently have a position on. I am long on JASMY right now. Let's take a look into what it could be doing. Weekly time frame. All right. Measure move. Since it looks like it has actually broken out right here, we have a measure move of about just right underneath 4 cents here. Looks like it broke out. We still have a higher low on this weekly time frame. So that is good because, like I said, what does an uptrend do when you have a higher low? You would expect a higher high, okay? Of course, that higher low could be broken, and that's when things will start looking like it's more bearish, right? And that's when I would start possibly changing my opinion. But right now, we still have a higher low on this weekly time frame. 4-hour time frame. Still a falling wedge after breaking out of that weekly falling wedge. This is the 4-hour time frame. Let's get an estimated breakout point. Let's just say it's right there. That will give us a measure move of about 1.96 cents. Okay. Let's take a look into GALA. See what could be happening here. Haven't done an analysis on this yet, so let's take a look on the monthly time frame. The monthly time frame is very important because if you guys actually take a look into any altcoins that have a monthly RSI reading back in 2020, 2021 especially, tell me, how long does an altcoin keep that monthly RSI reading before it dumps? Okay, I think it's a good reference point. I'm not saying, it's even going to go up to overbought territory, or it can't go above the previous 2020, 2021 levels, but it's just a good reference point to have some sort of data and make a more informed decision. So monthly time frame, we are not in overbought territory. So in my opinion, that is, we are not close to a overbought dump, which is usually how bear markets start. Now let's take a look into weekly time frame. Falling wedge pattern. I know I don't have a 3 candles touching on the upper trend line, but I think that's close enough in my books. So falling wedge pattern, weekly time frame. Let's take a look into the measure move, which is the opening of the pattern. Put it on top of a estimated breakout point. That will give you a measure move of about just a little bit above 12 cents. So quite a bit of a move here. If it breaks out, of course, if it doesn't break out, there is still a chance that this price action breaks down from this falling wedge pattern, even though it usually breaks upwards. So something to be keeping in mind of. There's no 100% guarantee in this market. Let's take a look into a shorter time frame, see what this price action could be doing. Could this be a falling wedge pattern again? I mean, it seems to be very common now, right? Let's take a look. It looks like this was actually a bear trap. And what I mean by that is basically the price action looks like it's breaking down from the pattern, right, on the falling wedge. I don't usually like to short falling wedges at the bottom trend line. That's pretty risky unless you know what you're doing. So this looks like it's a bear trap, right? Basically 4-hour time frame. The bears try to actually break down from this falling wedge pattern, but the price action actually closed back into the pattern. That means the bulls actually just bought this up and it went back into the pattern. So this is basically what I'm seeing. And on the highest time frame where this falling wedge pattern is still valid, I think this is still a falling wedge pattern here. So, yep. So the price target out of this, it's going to give you about a price target of 1.9 cents. It's a small pattern, so not too big of a move here. But when we actually zoom out, that's more important, right? Now, this is basically what I'm looking at for today. I think there's usually some type of resolution after or during or after the Fed meeting, right? I think everyone is just waiting for the Fed meeting to kind of conclude and decide on the direction of the market. At least from this, that's from what I have observed, right? I have seen some pretty crazy moves up and some pretty crazy moves down after the Fed meeting, like maybe a couple of days after, because the market usually kind of consolidates and decides on a direction to go. So that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure you guys are liked, subscribed, comment with any technical analysis requests. I'll pick one every day to do it for you guys. See you next time.